5 people who died for science. Number 1. Franz Richelt. In 1912, the tailor and inventor devised a wearable parachute for pilots. His first experiments with test dummies were not very successful, and he believed the poor results were due to not having a tall enough drop for his parachute. He decided to use the Eiffel Tower as his new testing site, and instead of using his dummies, he would make the jump himself. The event ended in disaster as Richelt fell to his death and is one of the most famous tragedies to be captured on film. Number 2. Carl Sheal. Sheal was a brilliant chemist who is attributed for the discoveries of the elements oxygen, tungsten, manganese, and chlorine. Apparently, Sheal lived during a time when laboratory safety was not as regulated and emphasized as it is today. He had the dangerous habit of tasting his discoveries, much like little children can't help but to eat paste, I suppose. At one point, he was able to survive a taste testing of hydrogen chloride, but eventually his lab tasting would lead to his death. It's a reminder to follow those high school lab rules and even wear those ugly safety glasses. Number 3. Henry Spinski, an engineer who invented the AVE Miser. This was essentially a car that would fly. He attached the wings of a Cessna airplane onto a Ford Pinto, the idea being that the wings could be easily removed and the Pinto could serve as both car and plane. During testing, the wings malfunctioned, and the AVE Miser crashed, leaving both Spinski and his assistant dead in the wreckage. No considerations were made to the possible success of the vehicle had they used a Mustang instead of a Pinto. Number 4. Marie Curie, the first woman to win the Nobel Prize for her studies on radioactivity and radium. However, her many exposures to the radioactive material ultimately led to her death, as well as the deaths of many other young women who worked at a watch factory that used radium to illuminate the watch faces. The young women would moisten the tips of the brushes with their lips in order to provide a sharper point to paint the watches. Many women died from the radiation poisoning, and the company made every effort to cover up and deny their responsibility in the deaths of their employees. The case of the Radium Girls stands today as an important event in the laws of workplace safety. And number 5. Alexander Bagdanov, a Russian doctor who experimented to find a sort of fountain of youth. He used himself as a testing subject and experimented with several rounds of blood transfusions. He reported to have improved eyesight, and one person made an account describing him as seeming to be 10 years younger. However, he took the blood from a student who suffered from both malaria and tuberculosis. That was the blood that ended his quest for youth, and Bagdanov died shortly after. The student, however, made a full recovery.